This part of the video here, we're going to be setting up our file. This movie poster is never going to be intended to be printed large. That's because I am very concerned about the image quality of us just getting random photos off of Google. So you'll still get a nice little poster print for this, but we're not going to be doing anything gigantic. Alright, now that I have Photoshop opened up here, I'm going to create a new file. Mine and my version of Photoshop is over here. However, keep in mind the 2022 version, I believe new, is up towards the top, a blue button. So take a look for either, but you're going to want to choose Create New. After you do that, up in this top, actually, we can use this to our benefit now. You'll see Recent Saved Photo Print. Go ahead and choose Print. And then under there, you will see Letter right here in the top. Go ahead and choose that. Once that's clicked, your settings over here should change. Where it says Untitled 1, let's go ahead and call it your first name, last name, and then I'm going to do a / movie poster. That way, we get a good idea of what this file is. Leave the width and the height alone, but just double check them. Width 8.5, height 11. The orientation here should be the tall one. Also, make sure that it's in inches. Again, it should be having you chosen letter over there on the left. Resolution should be 300. The only thing here that I would recommend changing is the color mode from RGB to CMYK to give you a little bit better accurate color print. Everything else here after you change CMYK will be totally fine, so then go ahead and choose Create. You will end up with a white rectangle. We're going to be importing a lot of images into this, and let me do one other thing that may occur to your Reset Essentials, to your user interface. You will see over here on the right color, then properties, and then layers. All of this stuff in properties will not be relevant for this project and many. So what you can do, and I'd recommend doing this now to clean up some space, look at my arrow cursor over here on the properties tab. There's this little button right there. Go ahead and click that, and you'll see two options appear. Choose Close Tab Group. And then that way you'll notice that you have a lot more room for your layers. You're going to be working at around like 10 to 15 layers by the end of this project. It's handy having that bigger. All right, follow my cursor here that's now in the layers window over to the right of the screen, and you'll see that it changes to a left arrow. You can click and drag and move Photoshop over a little bit. And then there we go. I can see my stock photos folder, also the current movie that I'm recording. Double tap your folder if you placed it in the top right of your screen, and you'll see all your photos. I want you to look for your background photo first, this background.jpg that I have named. Hopefully you went and named all of your photos something recognizable. Click and drag it into the white space of Photoshop and let go. You'll see that it appears, but it probably isn't, or there's a good chance that it doesn't fit perfectly. Again, these movie posters have to be tall because we're making them in the format of an actual movie poster. So we're going to need to do some editing to this. After you click and dragged it in, you'll notice that if you hover over any of these corner pockets, like the top left or the top right, that your cursor changes to a diagonal arrow. Unlike Illustrator, you don't have to hold Shift in Photoshop. I know, it's confusing. So don't hold Shift, just click and drag it, and you'll see that it makes it bigger. We want it to get to where it fills the area. Now again, cropping will occur, so you'll have to decide where you exactly want to put this. I think I'm actually going to use the right side of this image a little bit more with like the iconic like PlayStation symbols, like right there. And now don't be super concerned about quality right now, because after you're done moving it around, you're going to hit the return or enter key, and you'll see that hopefully it does a little bit of work to it. This is not great, but I think that the characters should cover it up, so hopefully we'll be okay by the end of it. We can always go back in and change things later, but for right now, we'll leave that alone in here with your background layer. I can still see my little pop-up window of my stock photos here, so I'm going to click this. Something to help you stay really organized in all these photos is you can two-finger click on an image, and I'm choosing my background one, and I'm going to add a red dot to it. If you look right here under all these different tags, boom. That tells me at least that, yo, you've already used this. You don't need to use it anymore. So now I'm going to start with what I want to be like the bottom center character of the entire thing, really. Or no, I lied. I'm not going to go to characters in this one. We got to get the title in there. So find your title, your text, or what have you, and click and drag that into your Photoshop file. Why did that not work? There we go. You might have, I had to hit enter or something weird in here. I'm going to move these down a little bit and get them kind of centered up. Not all the way to the bottom, like right here, and then I'm going to hit enter. Alright, couple things with title. Over here on the layers, right click it, or two finger click it, And you might have to scroll to this. So to scroll up and down this massive menu, you would place 2 fingers down on the trackpad. Don't press them, just place them, and you can shimmy them around. You're looking for convert to layers right there. So go ahead and choose that, and then you'll hit yes. You'll notice the difference. There's this little icon right here in the background one, but there's not in title. It's fine if we don't want to edit it. It's a smart image. It keeps the resolution a little bit higher, but it disables you from doing a lot of edits to it. So with title, I don't want that. Now we're going to get into some advanced stuff here with title. Down in the bottom of your layer settings, there's a whole bunch of different buttons right here, and you'll learn about them all throughout this lesson, so don't worry. But the one that we're going to focus on right now is this guy right here called Add Layer Mask. Go ahead and click that. You'll notice that you get this like little white square next to your image icon in your thumbnail. That's a layer mask, and we'll get more into what that is in like the next 20 seconds. Before we do that though, I want you to take a look at 2 things. Right now, I have the actual image layer selected, and you can tell because there's this box around it. Now, I have the layer mask selected. Again, the box is over here, so when you click on one or the other, the box moves. This is very important, and you'll see why in a little bit. It gets confusing for a lot of the designers. They forget which one they have selected. Last but not least is this link right here. For this lesson, you're always going to want this link shown. If the link isn't shown, you're probably going to have problems. That moves the mask and the image together. That doesn't make sense to you probably right now, but by the end of the project, you'll be like, oh, okay, I see what that means. So I want you to make sure that you actually have the mask selected right now. Make sure that box is around it. And we're going to go to the gradient tool. The gradient tool is all the way over here on the left side of where all your tools are. The hotkey for it is G, but just to show you what it looks like, faded kind of square. After you choose that, I want to make sure that your foreground color is set to black. So if you go all the way down to the bottom right here, you can double click this square, and I want you to choose straight black and then hit OK. After you do that, we need a specific type of gradient. Normally, a gradient will be, normally a gradient will just be black to white, like this one right here. You want this black to checkerboard. What that means is black to nothing, like transparent. So go ahead and double click that. If that didn't show, by the way, you might have to click this drop down arrow on the basics folder right there, and then it'll be right there. What you can do with this is pretty nifty. I like to hold down the shift button, and I click and drag, and you see this line appear right there. I let go, and you'll see that it fades. If you don't hold shift, you can kind of come at it from any angle, and that's pretty neat, because what you can do here is you can really fade it out so that you just have the logo kind of like fading into the background a little bit, which is cool. Sometimes though you might want a more like straight on fade, others maybe not so much. And now what we can do is just kind of get a lot of that background out, but not the whole thing. It's a lot easier than going around and just erasing things. Now, you might be saying, wait a minute, like there's still kind of like stuff around it. You're going to want that with the character, but feel free to take the move tool, this top left guy right here, or V, and you can kind of reposition. You can make it a little bit lower if you want to, or higher. I'm just going to try to get it like relatively center, right about there. I'll click off or deselect a tool. All right. In the next video, we're going to be starting to putting our characters in and whatnot. So we'll get more into a whole lot of these things like layer masks and all of that stuff next time. But for right now, get your main thing set up with your title and your background. After that, there is one last thing. Go up to the very top left of the screen where you see File. Click on that. Click on Save As. You're going to see this pop up, and you would want to choose Cloud Document. All right, guys, take care. Part 3 coming up.